When my dad died, I thought I knew who he was. But soon after his death, I started to discover things that changed those assumptions forever. A passport with a completely different date of birth on it, a marriage certificate to a secret wife, a whole family in Ghana who I'd never met. My dad was living a second life, and I had no idea. This is Hidden Roots, a series all about family secrets, identity, and my journey to uncover who my dad really was. It's been a minute, so let me bring you up to speed with everything that happened in Series 1. Hey guys, I'm Joe Jaquest Oteng, and I'm a singer from the UK. And this is my dad, Peter Oteng. He moved to the UK from Ghana in the 60s and built his life here. He met my mum, had me, and settled down with her in Wolverhampton, where I grew up in the 90s. Their relationship was rocky, but they stuck together so I could grow up with both of them around. They finally separated when I went to secondary school. After years of studying and racking up student debt, I decided that actually I wanted to be a singer. And that's what I've been doing ever since.
Introducing the sickest Joe Jaquest. I like the way you're working. No diggity, I got to bag it up, babe. There's just no time to die. No time to die. This could be a ritual. Now what you gonna do?
I also do some radio.
I like a little bit of support. It makes me feel safe. To be honest, if I'm sleeping naked, it's normally a signifier that I've hit rock bottom. It'll either be that I've come back, I've stumbled in drunk and I've just thrown all my clothes off and fallen asleep on the bed, or it's because I'm too hot and the fan stopped working and I'm like sweating like a pig. So naked means something has gone awry.
My family was always small. Just me, mom, dad, and my nan. But when my nan died, and then my dad passed away from cancer just 6 months later in 2011, the family I'd always known was gone. Mom's health declined pretty dramatically, so for the past decade I've mostly been figuring things out on my own. It's made me independent, but also more determined than ever to understand where I come from. Because when you don't have family around to ask, sometimes you have to go looking for the answers yourself. It was left to me to deal with death certificates, funeral arrangements, and clearing out Dad's house after he died. But pretty quickly, I started to uncover secrets that turned my understanding of who he was upside down. In his bedroom, among the piles of old work papers and clothes, I started to find things like documents, passports, certificates, photographs, things that pointed to a very different life than the one I'd known. Things he'd kept hidden from me, my mum, and everyone else while he was alive. First, I found his old Ghanaian passport, which showed his real date of birth made him 10 years older than we always thought he was, and with a different birthday. He'd been using a fake age and fake birthday since he moved to the UK. So he wasn't 64 when he died like I thought, he was 75. The lie about his age messed up his pension payments, his funeral care policy, it put the house at risk, it created chaos. Then after that, I discovered a marriage certificate, but my mum and dad were never married. It turned out that my dad had gotten married in 1974 to a woman named Irene, way before he ever even met my mum. He never told her about it, and they never got divorced. So my dad, the man that taught me to be honest, to do the right thing, had been lying about so much. So who was he? And what else had he been hiding? There was plenty more to come. There really is plenty more to come, so consider subscribing to the channel and turning on notifications so you get alerted when the next episode is out. I knew that Dad came from a big Ghanaian family. He was one of 13 brothers and sisters, but I had no idea what they were like because Dad would never speak about his family or where he'd come from. And I always assumed that he had no contact with them and no relationship with them. But under his bed, I found a box full of old photographs and letters and little memories from his family. It was like this whole world that he'd kept hidden. And that's when I realized it wasn't that he didn't have a relationship with his family, it was just that he decided to keep them secret. I'd always wanted to meet the family, so with these clues I'd found, maybe I'd have a way of tracking them down. Once I found all this out, I decided to look back through Dad's life, retracing his footsteps from Ghana to the UK, speaking to his old work colleagues and school friends to see if I could understand why he'd kept so much about his life hidden. Along the way, I uncovered more clues, long-lost friends, and new mysteries. It took me across continents. I may have even discovered that I have brothers out there who I've never met. I got the chance to meet some amazing people and had some incredible discoveries. Finally, finding one of my cousins, Edward, who lives of all places in Peckham, just down the road from where I was living at the time in Brixton. I put out the first series in 2023, but a lot has happened since then and I still had a lot more questions. Why had he kept so much hidden about his life? What did the family know about why Dad had cut off contact with them? What happened to my dad's secret wife, and was there any way to track her down now? When I met one of my dad's old school friends, he'd shown me a picture of him with 3 children that Dad had brought with him. Were these all his children? Were these all my brothers? This is my cousin Edward. After tracking him down and meeting for the first time back in 2022, I went back to see him again and we chatted about the idea of me going to Ghana to meet the family. I'd been pretty gutted when Edward told me that all my dad's brothers and sisters had died, but Dad still had cousins who were alive and I wanted to meet them. He spoke to his brother John, who is based in Ghana and grew up with my dad, to see if we could put a plan together for me to go out to Ghana, meet the family, and get to know the country for myself for the first time. Dad and John were like brothers when they were growing up, and he's one of the few people still around who knew Dad as a kid. Since he died, my relationship with my dad has been complicated because I felt like he'd not trusted me enough to be honest with me. And I was frustrated with him because he was no longer around to speak to about all the questions that I had. What I discovered about my dad in the first series was a huge step for me. It felt like I came to a much better understanding of who he was and why he did what he did. But there was still unfinished business. Getting this far had made me want to discover more. I'd come to a dead end looking for my dad's wife, Irene. But now I'd met my cousin Edward and he'd introduced me to the family in Ghana, I wanted to get out there and meet them. Making this journey was the final piece of the puzzle. A chance to go to Ghana for the first time, to meet family, and to take my dad's ashes back home. In this series of Hidden Routes, I'm going to Ghana. I'll travel across the country, meet the family I never knew, and uncover stories that were almost lost forever. Meeting a whole bunch of amazing new people, making new friends, eating a lot of food, laughing, maybe a little bit of crying too. Okay. Dancing, lots of dancing. Finding myself in places I never thought I'd get to see, and being welcomed into Ghanaian culture in ways I never expected. Plus, some big old surprises too. Welcome back to Hidden Routes and the story of what happened next. Please subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you can keep up to date with everything that went on in Ghana, with a new episode dropping every Wednesday. And just as a little treat, episode 2 is out now and you can find that here.